Hey y'all, I'm Mandy, and this is Mandy in the Making. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, reading. I don't know about y'all, but I love to read, and I have more time to do it in the summer because my son is out of school, so I'm able to read more, and that makes me happy. I was in a really bad habit there for a while where I was buying books all of the time from either Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and it just gets pricey. And honestly, when I buy a book, I read it once and then pretty much it goes to Goodwill. So I felt like I was wasting a lot of money. I've had a library card for a very long time and I really didn't use it very often. And recently, just within the last year or so, I've really been utilizing my library card and their online resources through the library. A lot of times we think about the library and we think about driving to the library, picking up the book. Every now and then you put a book on hold or they have to transfer it from another library to your local one. That was always my thought. But there's so many digital ways to check out from the library now that you really have no reason to have to purchase any books or drive to the library to go pick them up. So I'm going to go over several different things today and give you a few tips and tricks along the way on how to satisfy your love for reading for free or almost free. So let's talk about the almost free first. One great way to pick up some awesome reads is to go to Goodwill. I mentioned earlier I drop off a lot of books at Goodwill, or I used to when I purchased them a lot. So Goodwill and thrift stores have a lot of books, and a lot of them are recent books. I've got a few here that I'm going to show you that I picked up at a thrift store. They were 75 cents each because they were paperback. That's much better than paying whatever the price is on the cover. One of those books that I picked up recently was A Man Called Uva. Another book I picked up on that same haul was The Vacationers. I've already read it. It was really cute. It was a great summer read, but again, 75 cents. This is a fairly new book of hers, and it was at either Goodwill or another thrift store. I can't remember, but I didn't pay much for it either. Before I purchased those books, I did a check to see what their ratings were. And by ratings, I mean what other readers have reviewed it as. Because honestly, if I pick up a book and I find out that it only has 2 stars, that's the majority of the ratings, I'm not going to waste my time. There are too many great books to settle for an okay book. I used to just go on Google and look up the reviews until I found an amazing app. I've had this app for, I'm going to guess, almost 2 years now. I'm not sure, maybe a year and a half. And I love it. And if you haven't heard of it, it's free. It's called Goodreads. And I'm going to show you how I use it now. All right, y'all, bear with me on this. I've never tried to film my phone, so we're going to see how this goes. This is the Goodreads app. It has that G on it. I'm going to click it and bring it open. On my home screen, it automatically goes to updates of different books that others have read. So this is similar to like a Facebook newsfeed or an Instagram. You're basically going through and seeing the people that you follow and seeing what they are reading and what they are rating these different books. So one of the people that I've followed just rated this book 5 stars, and I want to see what it's about. So I can just click on the book and it's going to bring up the book, its rating, which its rating is really good. It's got a 4.14. I don't know if y'all can see that. I generally don't choose a book if it has less than a 3.75. So it'll have the book description here. And I go and read about the book. And if it sounds like something I want to read, then all I have to do is go up here. You see this is green. It says want to read. That means it's not on my shelf yet. And I'm going to explain what shelves are in just a second. But if I want to add it, I just click that. And you see it went to kind of a grayish tone. And it's got a check mark there. And it says it's on my shelf, on my want to read shelf. So that's one way that I find books that I might want to read. I just look through my news feed and see what others are reading. And if they sound interesting and if they rated them highly, then a lot of times I'll just add them to my shelf straight from the app. So I've mentioned shelf a couple of times. Let's go and look at my shelf. So I'm in the updates. I'm going to click on my books. When you go to your books, you have 3 shelves. You have books that you've read, so your read shelf, you're currently reading, the ones that you're reading right now, and then the ones that you want to read. I love this because before I had this app, I had a little notebook that I kept in my purse and I would write down names of books, or I would try and just take a picture of a book if I was out at like Barnes & Noble or somewhere of a book that sounded interesting, Then a lot of times I would forget about it and it would just stay in my camera roll and I would just forget all about the book. So this keeps up with all of the books that I have read. So here's all the books that I've read. It says I've read 64. Obviously I've read more than that. Those are just the ones that I've updated or I've read while I've had this app. Then there's books that I'm currently reading, and then there's books that I want to read. So there's that book that I just added just a second ago. But these are all of the books that I have read about, and I liked that they had great reviews, so I've added them to my list. Now let's say I'm in Barnes & Noble or I'm at the thrift store and I find a book that sounds interesting to me. I've read the back of it in the store and I want to see what others have rated it. All I do is go and click these 3 little lines up here at the top. Once I click those 3 lines, this little sidebar comes up, and one of the options on there is to scan books. So I'm going to click scan books. It's looking for books now. I don't know if y'all can tell, like my camera opened. What I love about the scanning option is you can either scan the front of the book, like the cover, or you can scan the ISBN number on the back. I find it easier to scan the cover just because I don't have to hold it as steady. So let's scan it now. All right, so it scanned it, and it says, is the book one of these? And a lot of times it'll come right up and it'll know exactly what it is. Sometimes it's not so sure. So it gives me the options, and obviously it's this one right here, The Witness. So I click on it, brings it up at the bottom of my screen. I can see that it has a 3.99. That's definitely something I want to read, so I'm going to add it to my shelf. And that's it. There are other neat things that you can do with Goodreads, like the reading challenge. I won't go over all of that, but just download the app if you don't have it already. Just play around with it. Add your friends. You can add all of your Facebook friends who have Goodreads. It will add them all on there for you. It's a really neat app, and I love it. Now let's talk about borrowing books from the library without actually having to go to the library to pick up a physical book. While I do get satisfaction from holding a book and reading the book, I love the smell of books too. Am I the only one who loves the smell of books? Surely I'm not. Comment below and let me know. Sometimes it's just easier to be able to get an ebook and read it on my phone or on my Kindle. And then there's the option of audiobooks as well. When I started utilizing my library card again, I went in and checked out some books, and as I was standing at the counter, I noticed they had all these little like pieces of paper kind of advertising different apps that our library uses. And I came home, I downloaded the apps, I logged in with my library card number, and boom, I had all of these books at my fingertips that I could check out and have on hand immediately. The app that I use the most for my library is called Overdrive. I'm not going to show you a screenshot of me using it simply because it has my county name all over it. Because once you log into Overdrive and you choose your library and you log in with your library card, it's like the app is just for your library. Even though it's for lots of different ones, it logs you in and you see what's available through your library. But Overdrive is so cool because you can search for all of these different titles and they will either have the ebook of that title and or the audiobook of that title. With Overdrive, I believe there are several different formats. It will download the book for you, so you can just download it to like the Kindle app, or I know there's one for iPads. iReader? I don't know what it's called. I'm not an Apple girl. I don't know. But the great thing is you get to choose how long you keep the book, up to 21 days, and it downloads immediately. Now, if it's a popular book, there may be a wait list on it, and it tells you that right as soon as you pull it up on the page. It says wait list at the top. It'll either have a green bar over the book that says available, or it will say wait list. You can click on the book and see how many copies your library has and how many people are waiting per copy. Then you can just click place a hold on the book, and then you know what line or what number you are in line. I'll be honest with you, I get frustrated with it when a brand new book comes out and I find out about it and I go in and I'm like number 26 in line. Really? But I usually forget about the book right after I add it in there, and you know, a couple of weeks or a couple of months will go by and all of a sudden I'll get an email from my library that says, hey, your book has automatically been checked out to you. I click on the email, I go and see what book it is, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And I get excited and I have 21 days to read it. So the downside is when you have several of them, released to you all at one time. I've had like 3 or 4 released to me all at one time before, and so I miss out on them. Now, if you're still with me, I do want to tell you a trick that my mom just discovered the other day. Let's say you get a book, and maybe it's that scenario where you have like 3 or 4 books that you're trying to read all at once, and you need longer than 21 days. My mom had a book on hold, and it was released to her, so then she had 21 days to read it. Well, she wasn't quite finished with it. She was about halfway finished. She turned her Kindle onto airplane mode, took it off of the Wi-Fi, and that saved the book because she wasn't connected to Wi-Fi. So when her 21 days were up, instead of the digital file just being taken from her like it does, you don't have to worry about turning a book back in, which is great. It just takes it from you. But at the end of her 21 days, she wasn't done with it, and she had it in airplane mode. She was able to finish reading the book. And then once she turned airplane mode back off of her Kindle, it took it within like 2 minutes, I think she said, the book was gone. If you have a Kindle or an iPad that you can just turn to airplane mode and not connect to Wi-Fi, obviously you can't do that with your phone because then you can't make calls and things. But if you can have a device where you read your books, turn it to airplane mode and you can keep the book for longer. I hope these tips were helpful. Give this video a thumbs up if you're a reader like I am. And tell me in the comments below what your all-time favorite book is. I want to see. I know today's content was a little bit different than anything I've ever done, but I've mentioned it before and I'll talk about it again. I love to read. This is just who I am. It's something I enjoy, so I just thought I would pass this knowledge along to you guys just in case y'all enjoy reading as much as I do. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.